Days messed up. I mean, mita kinang tuloy sabra. That's the one day mita nakula fam. Ito, mita get it wrong. Anyways, maybe it's because I'm excited. Ayun sa may papia, unti mix si English, ipapiamento, anto probablemente otra palabra ng na Holandés, maybe. Pero sa kita pa sobra ko nos tingas nang ko tapapia din diferente idioma e manera po sa nos quer paturhena sindi confortável ora con papia di tópico ng importante. São as bases say awe. So nami começar minha ramas. Feliz de sabra. Mita espero po si mang tatabong. Anto whatever that means to you. Sila doon si mang maslov, si mang super druk. Mita espero ko tatabong. Mi carabi saboso ku e weekend aqui se me nota hera Fundacion contra a violência relacional vai começar com um strat collector das please tim paciência riba tráfico se botar topa onde não volunteers não se bo por hasi donation cara hasi donation and yes remember this is a safe space nós tem que na pastinha algo novo me espera cria curiosidade das se botin comments não comportar também nos link pensa dos bias se bo quer hasi essa aqui anto se não probably me vai contestar anyways pero se botin good questions by all means make good questions e nós nos bas para contestar after the episode nos vai papia tocante tópico que me tem hope importante esta é tópico de eigenlijk como se chama support ai conchale Carolina como se diz support na papamento sustain basta wak sustain ding school lang eigenlijk pa estudyante ng kuta ding minoria e ano special abe no sa papaya di e grupo LGBTQIA+. Dus misa ko e topiko aqui portase ka parihena ng por causa curiosidad of irritasyon so umbihamas me gotta repeat this is a safe space where we are kind and nice and we just want to learn so seta e meta di abe nós está live riba Kula FM sa Facebook e YouTube e sa Sierra Carolina sa YouTube no worries si mo na po escucha full episode awe ito ba ita available riba e platforms ng ilo ta available tame riba Apple Podcast and Spotify so thank you to my awesome sponsors of course Survey and Crest for making these conversations possible alright okay enough wami ba laga nos gas ng introduce ng mes nos yung full house awe nos yung 4 guests. Wow. Anyways, so bear with me ko mi mics lang e mi cam awa makabi-realize kung mas na dimi. So, yes. Bear with me, people. Okay. So, mi tabi laga nos guest ang introduce ng men. So, feel free whoever wants to go first. Marlienne, baka go first. Ako, but super comfortable ding rhyme ta aki.
It's been a while.
That's true.
It feels weird to be on the other side of the table.
Really?
See?
Honestly, met hij buttons nou leuk. Pero,
you're good.
So many buttons. Sí. So Marlienne, contanos pahinan kung no conocebo.
Yeah, so pahinan kung no conoceme, mit Marlienne leider, anto meeting otro rol na Kula FM. Mit kinam como high school program manager na Edu Campus Aruba.
All right. Okay, we get a no introduction, but we'll get into it a little bit further later on. So, Julian, welcome back.
Yes, danke.
Penso nang kuno escucha e ultimo episode onde ko batata cerca nos, por conta nos que mota?
Yes, dus mijn naam is Julian Torres Rivas, met board member di Fundacion Orguyo. Una con nostra purba of nos meta tapa nos ting equal rights na Aruba. Ideme son prospecto ai também ajuda e support onde nos por para nossa comunidade.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Divya, and I'm looking at you.
Hi, my name is Divya.
Can you maybe move a little bit closer to the mic so we can hear you?
Is this better?
A little bit. Maybe a little closer. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Divya and I'm a student at Hackle.
Okay, thank you for that, and we'll talk about that. All right, Egmar, welcome.
Bom dia, como vai?
Bom, quando que eu vou? Bayendo?
Você sabe que nós trampamos.
Sí. Me estás escuchando onde que eu so maybe I figure out como me dejan bolsa onde que mais cerca, pero não nada. I'll figure that out. Já sabrá. Why is it hard? Pero vamos ser lá onde que trampang pa bing. Kina?
Sim.
But I hope it's worth it.
Yeah.
Egmar, quanto nós antigo de quem botar?
Também da de Fundacion Orguyo, I'm secretário. Ativista em algemeen.
Oké. Nou, sta maar niet. Ik ga niet zeggen doen op zo'n koffie eigenlijk. Pero bom, nota nada. Oké, so sting na school. Marlienne, met comienza Cuba, pa sobre ko obviously bata being for the educational background. Portawa po konta nos antiki di eigenlijk although met kere, I mean, nos study by school, nos turta comprender ko teachers ting un role way beyond teaching.
For sure.
Tempo caso way beyond managing un program, but met kere importante si pa portar duna people contacts, importancia di ting van supportive roles in teachers, right?
Sí. As much as met kere langs commissar mucho nang in general and pass most of their days at school. As adults we spend most of their days at our jobs. Mucho nang spend most of their days at school. Vooral si sinasabihan namin sa di sistema regular kami na ko bosa but physically come to school so working ang ting mas possibilities. Mayoría din ng dia no pasa na kas kunang parents. No tour sitwasyon na kas ta ideal. Mita kere nos tour ta aware di essay. Dus ora e mucho ng kibing school abot ng support system. Dus yes, bota ay nang pa tuna ng cierto knowledge. Pero bota mas ko essay, bota hungarol di mama, si foral si bota na mas chiquito, bota nurse, bota entertainer, bota there's so much more. I whether ko e mucha su casa safe space or not, paso pa hopi e nota tampoco, boker zorgo at least ora ko nanta na school, they have that. Foral ko atrobe nanta pasa gran parte di nan dia na school.
Yes, met kere ko essaito doen hobby bon contacts pa ehena nang ko pa gewoon turhena, because even if you have kids na school, met kere te importante pa tur di acordo que no momento que bota baja o mucho na school, of que mucho ta bayendo school, ko e persona e ting hobby mas perto bisti every single day, then é mucho so vida, right? So ideally bloquear pa e persona lang aqui ta equipped e por handle diferentes situações, sinti supported pa handle diferentes situações. E maneira nossa é realidade ta que tem ora, por algo de estudante não tem mais grande, tem conversação não que bira tem mais complicated, tem mais complexo in itself, não você tem assim hobby costan going on at the same time. Comida kere ko nos nota para que although nos tour si nos adulto kaba kerman ko nos go through 10 years, so it's not like we don't know kung intense tour ko so ta ding momento ng e kung importante etapa pa ting at least trusted adult hopefully ko para bay ng jele e papi ko nele. It turns out ko pa hobby mucha estaita teacher figure, mentor figure, persona ko nantawak hobby and therefore ta crea confiança com ele. Menos assim, di persona na di Fundacion Orguyo que chime in, si può supportare por duna tiki context di why it's so important in general pa LGBTQIA community, in caso di estudiante in schools ting board support system, and then we'll go into what it's really like and how we feel about it. Julian, do you want to go?
Inte kere ko manebo a mensiona ahora ki ko juist de teenage years, boting bota bezig ta zoek uit ken bota qua groepen bota behoor na je i manebo bisa eta hope intense i non sa figure out kaba ku pese boting cierto clubs na babay bijvoorbeeld si bota hope creativo boting een drama club of met tempo dat in coloring patraha schoolkrant of leerlingenraad i parti di a me personalmente in ieder geval die da teenager i sa che mi ta però no por expressarmi mes lo adunami hobby support si mi sa come por papia con un adulto cu non lo juzgami of come porti confianza ribagia e porta asta guiami den perguntaram come tim ma mensen dan hoor ik met kere aan dat een full on generation onde go net internet a cominciare con tot einde dial-up come di mele
dial-up
is niet annoying.
Exactly. Pero ainda pa min to ta bekend kung ipora bay kami le busca over di king mita of kiko ekemen cosa assim a vendia mucho não tá se por assim facilmente acaba pero juist gianang ding to the information
Yes, because there's an overload of information.
Exactly. What is I mean, not a right, pero
relevant pa boa situação.
Yes.
Exacto. E local, no? É situação local. Paso por aí, houve informação online de turcos, pero kiko tá aplicável na Aruba. Na boa situação na Aruba.
Houve de informação da international.
Exactly. E como tu vai connect com a informação se hende na Utah com I don't know or na Holanda so experiências full diferente com nossa experiência aqui
Like
não.
you're trying to figure out like okay that's their situation but what's my situation.
Dus se tem teacher com verdade por show e support e se a mim tá incluindo em situação de avendia sei lá mas dentro do great.
Yeah.
Mas nem babisa safe space. Di kung nós estamos a safe space que não. A nós está adulto, jovem, e botin com bisa esse.
Yes.
Imagina eu para jovem, mais ou menos. O importante para criar safe space. Internet is not a safe space.
No.
we would like to think sometimes it is, pero it really is not. Exactly. So, mira é importante para nós por como adulto tá honesto com nós mesmos também e tá genuinely honesto com nós mesmos e realize que although yes we made it to adulthood but
like still to be determined, okay?
See, mark safe, right? Like are we though? No, I'm just kidding, but maybe not.
It's a safe place,
yes, maybe not because not all teachers are safe at their schools. To say that was single cara teen teachers could be double life or has to pretend something just because school board or the system
not providing na safe space. Exactly. Anto, kasi mita kira ko ora ko nung sa papya di ting bong support system sang na school. Nós mas honesto ko realidad pa hopi di nós ta utata ko si nós ta echt by wak baku mani critical eyes nós lori para ko pa no paturhende eta ta mes schools e no paturhende eta ta safe. Anto kiko e impacto nandi essay tabata por ata ita sigita, right? I mean, manera ko basta mencionar e porque ermean ko persona ta sinti ko enoporta su true self que to bayan ta live double lives even ko e miedo di ko su being su true self por ta problema. So Divya, you are a student now. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about we were discussing before the episode started and everything. I think that because your generation in particular grew up with a lot of devices and the internet and so much access to information, to external stimuli, right? Like constant videos, noises, everything. Attention span got a little smaller, right? We know that. But also, how do you connect? And how do you express yourself? And when and how would you like to be able to reach out for questions and help? Can you maybe tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a high school student now?
What it's like.
Can you maybe talk a little bit closer to the mic? Yeah, I know. Can we maybe just help Divya? See,
help
Marlienne
me,
is gonna be. Marlienne is coming to you. No worries. Yes.
Is this better?
Awesome. Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
What is it like to be a high school student now?
For you, and I mean, it's your perspective. But if you have a general perspective, it's fine.
I would say it's study-wise or like
both, everything.
I think study-wise, it's a lot easier to study nowadays because if you have a question, you can just like go on Google and get it, and you get like multiple different explanations and answers, and it's a lot easier to come to answers. Like whereas way back when, or well. Back when.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Si Marlienne naman hold up.
We start off friendly.
You had to like go to the library, and then you had to like read like 1,000 books. Okay, does this book have what I need? No, next.
Yep.
You know, like you had to go through like maybe 10 books to get your correct answer. Whereas now actually you have like ChatGPT.
I was gonna say, yep.
Yeah, like I haven't used it yet, but like my classmates will be like, oh yeah, I used ChatGPT. It like it made a whole essay for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you have like a lot of that. So yeah, there's like
In
it
terms
becomes,
of
like,
that,
it becomes easy,
Mhm.
you know, easier,
yeah.
simpler. At my school, a lot of the things are digital.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not like that at every school. I think I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
For most schools.
Yeah. So I actually like that it's really digital because I think personally it's easier for me to study
Mm-hmm.
because I think, you know, laptops, I feel like you can be more stimulating with it. You can listen to music while
While
simultaneously studying, and the music won't distract you because
Mhm.
it's in a whole different tab. So you're busy on this tab and you can have like 2 tabs open. That's unhandy. You know, that's not very handy. So yeah, I think that's
Studying wise, and I agree. I think that when I look at so you know, I know Divya from a couple of years back. Divya was in one of my summer camps, and I enjoy listening to any of you, you know, talk and tell me about how things are. And I love how technology is creating a much more interactive sphere for you to genuinely explore, you know, your strengths and what you would want to study, things that I didn't have, and I am sure maybe the other, you know, adults in the room didn't have as much. Like when I hear what all of you like want to study and stuff, I'm like, so nice that you're being creative. But socially, I think, and I say I think, it has because I'm not sure, obviously, it has gotten a little harder because you live in a space where there is so much where your life is on, if you choose to, right? And a lot of people choose not to because it's so intense. But you have a bunch of social media platforms. When I was in high school, MySpace was in for a little bit, and then eventually like Twitter got along, and then like maybe Facebook. But then I was like becoming an adult, and it wasn't like too much pressure. But for you,
yeah,
you know,
nowadays it's really just like there's a lot of light on you.
Mhm.
I feel like personally my accounts, they're all private,
Mhm.
so I do like that. I think there's a lot less privacy nowadays,
Uh-huh.
and also I think sometimes peers, you know, like other teenagers, a lot of them don't keep up with the fact that, hey, you should probably have some more privacy, or privacy is just good in general when you're
Mhm.
still growing, I think.
Yep.
Because we still have a lot to learn. Like, I've seen people post certain things using substances, for example.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, maybe don't do that on social media because, you know, people can see that. Like, personally, I think about, like, what about when you go to get a job?
Mhm.
You know, like, you've actually told me this, like, I think, like, a few years back. You were like, yeah, you know, like, jobs, I think it was, like, in one of your, like,
And the
one of
workshops,
camps.
yeah.
Workshops that
They go on social media and
we
look
go
you
on
up.
social
Do.
media, and you were like, yeah, they go on social media, and I'm like, okay, but like, what if all my accounts are private? And you were like, well, they can always like ask someone who follows you
Yep.
to take a screenshot of your account, and then they can look, they can see like, okay, who am I inviting into my business?
Mhm.
Honestly, even colleges and places
Yep.
that provide internships
Exactly.
do that
Do
nowadays.
that, yeah.
So it's not even job, like sounds
It's
like
not
for a high
even
schooler, it might sound
job.
very far away.
Exactly.
But your next
it's
step is
not.
college.
like if you just graduated high school this year, there's a lot of kids, and then like they can just like your next college, your next university, whatever you choose to do next,
Mhm.
they can, it's so easy to go on social media and find out things about people. I mean, like that's how numbers get leaked, that's how
Yep.
addresses get leaked.
Yep.
You see it every day. So
Do
I
you
think
feel like that puts pressure on you as a student, like, you know, in your case, to be more aware, like hyper aware almost, about who you are on these platforms?
honestly, yes. All of my accounts are private, and I have like minimal information
Mm-hmm.
about me just because I find myself a relatively private person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like like no one at school really knows where I live. Like they don't. Like not even my friends have been to my house, and it's not like I don't trust them. I just I don't like people in my house. Like my house is my safe space.
Your mom is probably like, No, I'm just kidding.
No.
But yeah, and like you said, I've talked to you and to other teens about these type of topics, and something that I have learned along the way is that a lot of teens have the tendency to mask then, right?
Yeah.
Create like second, third, fourth personas depending in which situation they're in, and you would like to think that because we are in the future, right, and that we are at a time where people are more open or maybe more accepting, that this wouldn't necessarily be the case. But I personally feel that in some cases it has even gotten stronger, because the idea of privacy
it's kind of like
blurred.
Outrageous now.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like you put something out there and it's for everyone, even if it's private.
Like,
you put it out there and people share it, right, with others.
Like, you might post it on your private account, but then someone like,
Screenshots.
oh, this is a nice pic, share it. You know, like it's really easy to like, not have privacy, and sometimes you're like, oh, okay, but I like my privacy. I want my privacy. Thank you. Some people can be like, what? No, no, you don't get privacy. So
No.
I think that's a really iffy.
Scary?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be really scary sometimes. Like,
I have had students tell me that, they have been outed by their peers, for example.
Yeah.
So maybe they posted it in a very close group setting. Maybe they shared something on their social media that they thought was really private, even in like a close friends. For example, if you put that setting, and then some way, somehow, it's shared, and then it's information for everyone. And yeah,
I
that's
remember
scary.
when I was like first starting to like come out of my shell as a queer person. I remember I like confided in one of my friends once. It was like in 7th grade, I think. And I was like, hey, I think I like girls, I'm queer, blah blah blah, right? And she's like, okay. I had a feeling, guys, by the way, I was in the closet with a whole undercut, so I wasn't really good at hiding it. Like I got my undercut before I realized I was queer. So I wasn't
The closet had a glass
Yes.
door.
Was glass.
But it's fine. It was a closet, and you felt like you had to be in there.
Sick, guys. I felt sick. So yeah, like I remember my friends, they would be like, do you like girls? And I was like, no. What? No. So but yeah, no. So like it was still, but it wasn't really known to everyone yet. Like people had their suspicions, but it wasn't known. And I remember I told my friend, and then I told like one other friend, like 2 people knew, and suddenly people were coming up to me and they were like, do you like girls? You're gay, right? I'm like, what? No, I'm what? Who told you that? I'm like, and they're like, don't worry about it, but you are like you're queer, right? I'm like,
should I feel pressured about this? Yeah.
I was like, it was so crazy because people talk, like you confide in one person, that maybe one person is like, hey, confides in this other person, that
And then
really
they
trust.
confide in another person. Yep.
Aruba's really small,
Yeah.
guys. Like,
It just goes.
like I need to stop talking with my hands because I'm talking to.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So I play with the little cord of like the headphones, so I don't end up like hitting buttons. But it's fine to talk with your hands. But you mentioned like something, very, very interesting there, and it can be. It doesn't have to be, but it can be for some people a little overwhelming, right? When you do decide to confide in people, and then people start sharing with other people, and I want to say that a lot of people don't do it with malice. Like they aren't even aware of what
like they're
doing.
even like aware. I don't think necessarily they do it out of malice. I think it's more like,
Oh my
this
gosh.
This
Yep.
is like news to me. Like this is crazy. So
I wanna
people,
share
like,
it with someone.
Personally, I'm someone who processes things by like talking. So like, you know, like, I mean, I don't go around telling people secrets, obviously. But like, I do like, maybe I'll process it with that person themselves. Like, I need to talk about it to like understand it. I'm someone who like understands things verbally.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people need to process it, but like maybe with another person.
Yep.
You know? So I think it can be really important to have that trust, but also that, you know, you can do it maybe perhaps not with someone else's information and go to someone else with it. Maybe talk to that person about that information and then, you know?
Of course.
And here's the thing, when that person that a teenager decides to confide in is a teacher, that teacher often feels
Overwhelmed?
split, I would say.
Split. Huh, okay.
Because you don't know if that teenager has a safe space at home.
Okay, in that sense.
And that can be basta bumisiting hope daw. How do you go about it? Because a lot of parents have this idea, I need to know all. I need to know everything. As a teacher, anto sa kita alko ami persolek to bis may mayor ng I want what's best for your child. But what happens when what's not best is the parent? Basta ko a parent noting a mesong open holding ay ko si I will always encourage my students to talk to their parents. But what if their parents aren't safe? Sa realidad ta ako pa hopi kas ainda itopi ko akita hopi tabo.
Yep.
So what do you do then? Ando inang mitakira no sa biega back na nos conversation di net para may ko episode systematic change needs to happen.
Are teachers equipped to handle that, right? Grijsgebied di na que momento mita kies pa share algo ko leerling si of no kung hoop imita by papia ko nele euri. Meeting even information pag yele.
Not everyone does.
Exactly.
Like, am I even equipped to help this kid
go through this
topic, go through like what they're going through? And I think it can be difficult sometimes.
It can be very difficult. Ando man por ejemplo ami net takabanda leraran opleiding no sa haya ADHD, dyslexia, autismo, all of that. This topic is not a woman que bisa ko mig compare ko mane algo ko ta mane condition, but I'm saying it's a topic who not everyone is comfortable with. It's a topic who no turhende ting information di je. Dus eigenlijk unless ko comienza a trazer mais dilante de forma sistemático, si teacher ta quis pa bosa kiko, I'm gonna pretend that does not exist. So right now, there's left up to what that one teacher decides is best, and even if that teacher is open to the topic, hobi biyaha porsinti ko ita susoding. So dependiendo di eskwela kami na ko bota traha, that it's totally taboo. You do not say that. You don't even say the words. You pretend, close your eyes. It does not exist. We don't go there. Exactly. We're blind to it. Pero at the end of the day, ita estudyante sa sungkuta sali perhudika pa sobre ko he or she feels lost and alone in the process. So nakas na tong safe space in school, na tong safe space.
Correcto. Okay, sí. I agree 100%. Mi pregunta tan, it's a rhetorical question, so by all means, feel free to chime in. Kiko no sa sinti ta e challenge di mas grande pahasi isa ki possible eta nos kultura eta kung edukasyon ta hinkadeng otro kung nos nota wake manera algo holístico eta kung nos sitwasyon nga aruba especificamente di eskolbesturen ng hobi dinang por ejemplo tamara na religion Kiko nos sa sinti, and mitibisa knows us in this group, but you know, if there are people out there who want to chime in as well, by all means, Kiko nos sa sinti ta eigenlijk impeding nos the approach sa sitwasyon aki from a more holistic point of view, and to I don't know.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Education. I think there's
like the lack of it. Okay.
Lack of education on like this topic. Like a lot of people, for example, I've met people who think it's a choice. Like, oh, just choose to be straight. You can't choose who you like or who you love. It's just is. For example, like if you're straight and you're in love with someone, choose to be in love with someone else.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, it's not that simple. Just like you can't turn around, you know. You can't turn around and be like, okay, I'm in love with you, but like, I just be in love with her now.
Exactly.
Or like for me, I'm in love with you. I really love you, but like, I need to be straight, so I'm gonna choose to love him now.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Well, maybe some people do that. They really do that choice, not because
like,
it's a choice. It's because
they feel forced.
You know?
They feel they have no other choice.
Yeah.
But is it
that's
really
the only choice
like,
they can do it.
With
is
the
it really
consequences.
love though?
Yeah.
That's the question. Like, is it really emotionally and
No.
romantically love? That's
Yeah.
the whole point. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I said like not marry, but like love. You know.
Yeah.
That's why I use instead of like I'm married to her, but like I need to be straight, so I'm gonna marry him instead.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make you straight. It just makes
Exactly.
you live a perception of maybe, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's
Yeah.
just you pretending. You're pretending because
Yeah.
you don't really love that person. You love this whole other person. You know.
I think the point of education is a very good point, and that is just general. It will help out in all of our aspects and everywhere,
For
not
sure.
only in the educational system. But I do think that's also, I think, why Fundacion Orguyo is important. The equal rights for the marriage. We don't think that maybe has any consequences for students because they're not allowed to get married, of course.
Well, technically in our laws they are, but anyways.
Yes, let's go into that.
Yes,
That's
but
a whole different topic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anyways,
But my point being is that it has been proven, especially in big countries like in the US, where I sounded just like Miss America. In the US, where sorry, where in some states where the gay marriage was accepted, then you had less teenage depression or suicide and all those other topics because on a higher level, you are accepted.
yes.
And that makes it also more of a normal topic, right?
I was gonna say it forces conversations.
Yeah. And I mean, what did you this weekend? Yes, I was invited to this casamento. Asi mi dos omo a casa. Oh, okay. Basta normalize it more.
Yeah.
Where ora ay ding e party di taong hobing, taong teenager where you're figuring out things. E tabu ay kuta hasile mas komplika ainda pa nos tour or so to figure out being teenagers, straight, LGBTQI+, whatever you were. E toto komplika ka ba? Letterlijk nos tour tabi say, right? Teenage years. But I will throw in a taboo.
Yes, exactly.
Like I can, sorry,
That's
but
it. Yeah.
I can definitely say like realizing, I think growing up and realizing that you're queer in like this light, that like a lot of people shun it, you know. It's just like, no, it's not okay. Like growing up, I knew about queer people. Like I knew girls liked girls, there were girls who liked girls, I knew there were guys who liked guys, and vice versa, or people who liked both. But I wasn't really aware that it's like possible for me, you know. So I think it definitely took longer. It didn't, like, the taboo of it didn't prevent me from realizing that I'm queer. It more well just made the process longer, more difficult. And I think a lot of queer people go through like a little bit of self-hatred in realizing their sexuality, you know. Like you're like, oh God, you know, like
Why me?
You
Yeah.
want to be
me?
different. You
Yeah,
want to be
exactly.
the
Like why? I think everyone at some point has a point in time that they're like, why can't I just be straight? This would be so much easier if I could be straight, you know, at some point. And it's just, yeah. You know, so.
Yeah, most gay homosexual people will have that phase where they're like, why me? Why did I have to choose for this? Like they also feel like they chose to be gay. Obviously, it's not. And you prefer to be straight because then you won't have like all these.
Life would be easier.
People.
Yeah, that would be much easier.
You know, like people telling you it's a phase. I get that a lot because I'm 16. Like I've told people, hey, I'm queer. Yeah, hi, because like it came up on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's a phase. You still have time.
But you know what? Even if it is a phase, that should be fine too.
Exactly. Like
Yes.
even if
Teenagers should have the space to experiment if they need to.
So they
and
can
it should
truly
be
get to know
okay.
themselves. Yeah.
See.
Mm-hmm.
I think even if it is a phase, that's fine. Just accept that it's a phase then. Don't tell me it's a phase. Just accept it. Like
Yeah.
if it is a phase,
Can
I'll
I
realize
chime
it later.
on that?
Yeah.
What I realized being in the closet, I came out to my mom when I was 14, but I knew already from way before that because I was crying as a child because it was bad and was going to hell, right?
Oh my
Really,
God.
really.
Sorry, I'm laughing, but it's
No,
like...
I was making birthday wishes.
Oh my
wishing
God,
I
know.
was seriously. I
Wow.
went through all of that, right? What happens in your teenage years? That's when you explore. That's when you try to find out more who you are. If as a LGBTQ plus person you don't have that, when is that gonna happen?
Yeah.
When you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
And that happened so much. That happened to me. Why did I take so long to come back to Aruba? I was finally being myself. What I should have been doing and finding out when I was a teenager. I was doing it as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Het was een aanhalingstekens wasted time instead of, you know.
Yeah.
And being judged by that too, because sometimes
Then it's like
society
grow
will be
up.
saying, oh, all these gays are so promiscuous, they're doing all these things on the streets, and but because they couldn't do anything when they were 14 or 15, hanging out with the same sex partner, or just giving a kiss, going to the cinema, or doing all these cute things back then, they couldn't do that. So now they're
Exactly.
trying to, you know,
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I like this? Is this me?
Yeah.
I think it's no matter what, I think it's a long road to like learning to love who you are for who you are. Like I definitely had that struggle. Like I'm just now starting to like, okay, I'm queer. This is me. And I am comfortable with it and I am okay. But it was a really long road to it. Like realizing it, I was like, honestly, I think my whole life I knew I liked girls. Also, I just didn't really accept it. Like I'd always look sort of at girls, like in walking past Victoria's Secret, I'd look at the model and think, no, I can't look.
Yeah.
The Calvin Klein jockeys. We all know them.
The girls who were like posing in the Calvin Klein, you know, you would like growing up queer, you see, you know, you see models and you're like, it feels illegal to look, you know?
Yes. But it's the same
like-
experience for like heterosexual people too, right? I mean, it's very normal for young boys and young girls to look at like images and, you know, like become a little shy and everything. And then, you know, if they're heterosexual, then it's often even encouraged, right? Like, oh my gosh, you like that, you know? Also, you like blondes, or, you know, you like brunettes. And it's a very regular conversation. And then we somehow understand how sexuality is a part of a human from a very young age, unless they're LGBTQIA+. Then it's like you need to wait until you're a whole adult and then maybe start thinking about
Maybe
it.
it's possible.
Yeah.
And it's not only sexuality, but what Egmar also brought up. It's also about the romantic part.
Yep.
I mean, I was wondering, why don't we have that many stable LGBT? That's not true. LGBT, stable gay relationships. It's I'm not an expert. I'm a hoe zeg je dat? Ervaringsdeskundige.
Yeah.
Because when you're figuring out having relationships, that's in your teenage years, and we don't have that. We have
Often,
to, as an adult, oppressed adult with a bunch of other things. That's when we're figuring it out, and then they're like, "Oh, why don't you have a stable relationship?" Well, you didn't give me the time to do the
figure it out. Figure it out.
You
Yeah,
didn't,
figure
like, you
out.
didn't give me a chance to make mistakes, fail in a
Yes.
relationship. I feel like being a teenager, part of being a teenager is going through failed relationships.
Yep.
You're
They're
going to
so-
fail in relationships.
They're so
as a
important.
teenager.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
actually it's even maybe a vital part of being.
It really is.
Yep.
I think, you know, the teenage heartbreak
Yep.
is really important
Yep.
when you're a teenager, because then you're like, okay, for my next relationship, maybe I don't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe texting that other person romantically and sending pictures
Was
back and
not
forth,
okay.
For example, like just the top of my head.
Yeah.
Just picked it in the air.
I know.
Maybe that wasn't a good idea. Or like, I think you learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and I think it's with everything you do. You live and you learn.
Yes,
and
for
as
sure.
adults, we should provide a safe
space to
for
do
that,
so.
where
Exactly.
you can come with questions, you can maybe even guidance, and
Mm-hmm.
which we already do, but as straight people. I mean, if my nephew has a heartbreak and he comes and tells me, hey, what did I do wrong? Blah, blah, I'm gonna talk to him about it, right?
Yep.
So what is the difference is that my nephew is straight, but if he was any type of LGBTQ plus, I would also want to guide him, right?
Exactly.
But because it's that topic, I will say, no, it's a phase.
Yes.
Good that you broke up.
Yes. Yep. And I was
Good
gonna-
riddance.
How would you feel as a straight person if your parents
Somebody
would tell you
comes-
that, or your teacher,
Yeah.
like,
And
"Hey, it's
that's-
good. No, go with somebody else."
And this is a very important thing, because then it's where also teachers get to see a different person. I mean, students, when they're at school, they're with their peers, they are different people than when they're home. This is not a bad thing. It's natural. This is what happens. And that is, for example, you mentioned a very peculiar thing. I was seeing all the uitslagen pictures and everything, and everyone was like super happy. I broke up with my teenage boyfriend for the first time around examen, and it was horrible. Like, I didn't eat, and I was like, drinking green tea, lemonade. But my parents didn't know. Anytime they asked, I was like, I'm studying, I'm busy, and I was studying more than I ever have. Like, I'm not a studier, but I was at bibliothèque just because I wanted to be busy, right? But some teachers noticed, and they were like, Karina, your basabo stuff. Why are you coming to me with for biology, belas? I even asked once for Skyko na belas, and my teacher was like, no. Minuto pa ko bravo pa belas, bapunto ng tasinabong, manikiko ta pasando, no, me diz que tá seguro. So they were noticing that and they didn't have a conversation with me necessarily, but they were noticing that I was anxious about something, right? My peers knew, obviously, because I was telling them, like, oh my gosh, whatever. But this is a natural phase in life, and I'm happy that I was able to go through it with whatever teenage breakups come with, but not to the point where it had a negative impact on my education. I passed and whatever. Okay, but it can have a negative impact on a student who maybe was already struggling with their grades, right? And then as a teacher, not everything is academic, so you might reach out to a student and be like, hey, what's up, how are you feeling about your exams, etc. And an answer might be, as somebody who's holding up emotions in that moment, just crashing and being like, this and that happened. And then, are you equipped to have a conversation around that in general, right? If it's any type of relationship. But then what if it's a queer relationship? Are you equipped to have those conversations? Because whether you like it or not, it can and probably will have an impact on their academic success. If somebody is not doing okay, especially teenagers, if something romantically has happened, especially heartbreaks, it will have a direct impact on their academics. So you can't just say like, no, this happens outside of the academic sphere, because it doesn't. So, and then what, right? And then how do we equip teachers to have these conversations? How do we let students know that this school or this teacher is a safe space, where if that is what is going on, what is, that they need extra support academically because they are going through this thing, how do you create that space? Again, rhetorical question, so feel free to chime in. But Divya, I'm looking at you because, at your school, you had an event which created some rules, but that doesn't matter. But what was that like for you as a student, a queer student?
As should I tell you like what the?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. At my school, we had Purple Friday, which was organized by the GSA, which by chance I'm a part of.
Okay.
The GSA?
GSA is gender straight. I was about to say that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Hold on. GSA has two meanings, but they're basically the same thing. GSA can be taken as Gender Straight Alliance.
Okay.
No, Gay Straight Alliance, sorry. And then the other meaning is Gender Sexuality Alliance.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Gay Straight Alliance and Gender Sexuality Alliance, yeah.
Okay.
So that's what GSA means. You have GSA in Holland,
Okay.
in the Netherlands. That's where my school took it from. So we're part of the GSA network, or was.
GSA? Mhm.
Sure. I'm pretty sure we are.
Okay.
And from there, we organized Purple Friday, which is a day where kids and staff can wear purple to show support for LGBTQIA
Colleagues.
students and
Okay.
colleagues, you know? They can wear it in solidarity, like, hey, I recognize who you are, I recognize that you do have struggle, and etc. And so yeah, the GSA is mostly comprised of students with one teacher who like looks over everything.
Mhm.
But it's mostly the students who decorate, who choose,
The
who look at ideas, what to
topics,
sell.
okay.
So it's mostly governed by the students.
Okay.
It is, the students are made out of allies or also queer kids.
Mhm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. I really like it. All the queer, as far as I know, all the queer kids do love it. We have a lot of fun. What we do is we sell, sometimes we sell, no, this year we did sell. We sold some Pride articles like bracelets, bandanas, and stuff. It was really fun. Kids were buying, teachers were buying, you know?
Mhm.
And the money that we do sell from this, from the articles,
Mhm.
it gets put back right into the same.
Is that your 10th alarm?
Yup. My bad.
No worries. Uh-huh.
Yeah, no. So the money goes right back into the funding. Also, we try to like inform fellow peers.
Yeah.
So we put up posters with positive things, and also we try to inform
Yeah.
our peers about different things that have to do with being queer.
Okay.
And stuff like that, and what it's like to be queer, why it's important that there is, basically why it's important to have pride.
Conversations.
You know?
Yeah.
And conversations about it, and to normalize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. Some at my school, it's very accepted.
Mhm.
It's very accepted, I feel. I'm trying to like think words.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Without like barfing words.
I know.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. Maybe that helps a little bit. So, I didn't know the whole extent of, all that is done through that. And I am really happy to hear that on a systematic level, the school you attend to is part of a larger organization of these type of activities and events, because it also means that, you have probably like something to guide you on how to do this, and what works, what doesn't, and etc. So that's really nice to hear. As a student, you participate in this actively, of course. Do you feel that has a positive impact on your overall development and education?
Yes, I do. When I got to the school, I was in 8th grade, so I was still, relatively new to being queer. So finding out that we have Purple Friday, it's something to look forward. My friends were like, yeah, we have Purple Friday and da-da-da-da. I think personally that it's really good and really positive, because you're like, okay. I think in some cases it can be like a breath of relief.
Yeah.
Like,
You
okay,
can be who you are.
okay, it's celebrated.
Mhm.
It's okay, so it's okay to be who I am. Finally, I feel like you get like some, I don't know the word. I can't remember the word. Like validation.
Yes.
You get validation to who you are. You're like, okay, it's accepted. People are finally accepting me. It's okay to be who I am. Who I am is okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. It is accepted. I can accept myself. It is normal. You know, I feel like I got a real sense of that when I first got there. Like, there are all these kids that are like, yeah, it's super normal. And yeah, it's totally okay. It's very normal. It's very accepted. Of course, like, where there is everywhere, there are people who are not going to be like okay with who you are for whatever reason. But even at my school, I feel like what I'm thankful for is even if some people don't agree with who you are, they keep it to themselves.
It's respected.
It's respected. There's like a mutual respect between students, between faculty.
Yeah.
That, okay, I don't really agree. My opinion is my opinion, and I'm going to keep it to myself. None of my business. That's what I like, and that's what I think we should have more of.
Yeah. I think by hosting events like that, it creates a school culture.
Yep.
Also, yeah.
So that's one of the things I'm really happy about. But overall, it's pretty accepted, and I'm really happy about that between not just students, but even faculty.
So that also makes
really
it easier for you to probably reach out and like have conversations.
Personally, I'm not someone who goes and reaches out to like faculty, but I know other kids who wish they could have that with teachers. And at my school, I think you could, if you like feel close to a teacher, then I think you'd have the safety of being able to talk to them, you know?
Can I ask you, is there information there at school somewhere you can walk to and...
Yes, we do have a teacher that is, you know, like the teacher of the head of the GSA, the head teacher of the GSA. Sorry, I'm stuttering.
No worries.
But yeah, you can go to him and be like, hey,
I have questions.
I have questions about the GSA. Or you can even go to other peers, you know? Like, I've had friends, like straight friends, come up to me and be like, hey, tal tal tal, you know? Like, what's this and this? And like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I like that it's like mutual respect, and it's like, there's no hate.
Yes. And because it's probably organized, that means that the information is also more accurate and targeted to this specific group, which is high school students, which I think is really important.
For sure. And I think for the teachers as well, because we were saying earlier that even if a teacher is open to the topic, you're not sure if the rest of the school board is, and because your school supports those activities, it's okay. Even if me as a teacher, I don't know much about this topic, a student comes to me about it, I feel safe enough to be able to go to my colleagues and say, you know what, a student came up to me with this topic, how do I handle this? Because right now I feel like in a lot of schools, teachers aren't sure, like, okay,
who do I go
I'm
to?
a safe space for this student, but who is my safe space?
They're like, okay.
Exactly.
What do I do now?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think even like you could be like, okay, well, I don't really know a lot about this, but I'm happy that you chose me as your safe space. But you know, another teacher, for example, you could also choose as your safe space.
Is
and then
da-da-da-da-da.
and at your school that exists.
Yeah.
But the reality is for many schools here on the island, it's not like that.
True.
It's every teacher on his or her own.
Yeah.
And I think what very beautiful is that so the GSA is student led. It's the students organize it.
Yeah.
So that means that there is a need. I remember when I was in Colegio San Nicolás, there was no leerlingenraad, and we did the leerlingenraad on our own. There was no colarin. We did a colarinche. It was student led because there was a need. We wanted to do something, and so obviously students need this.
Yeah.
And then when students need something and the teachers are going to be the safe space, this teachers are gonna need
Exactly. They need the support as well.
Exactly.
And I'm so really happy to hear how you express yourself about the Purple Day, because that same feeling I got it the first time ever when I was at a Pride event in Amsterdam. My first Pride ever. I was like, oh, this is how it feels. Like I can be myself. People don't care. We're walking hands in hands. You know, that feeling I recognize. But I had it in my 20s.
I actually last year I went to Pride on Stage. It was my very first Pride event, and just being there, I was there with one of my friends who also happens to be queer, and this was our first ever Pride event, and then just seeing everyone, it was amazing. I remember just this wow, okay, again, it was another wave of, okay, wow, you feel like these are my people. You feel like you found your crowd. You feel safe. You feel accepted, validated again, you know, like you feel good. You're like,
yes.
To have that as a teenager,
right?
That's wow.
Exactly. I'm so happy. Like I'm just smiling because of course, I call them my kids. So any like teen or kid that I have worked with, I call them my kids. And I stay in touch. Like, you know, I reach out and I post stuff and I check in. So anytime that something positive is going on, I get so happy because, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. I really believe in that.
It really does.
So I love hearing when somebody else is adding to, you know, the work that needs to be done for our youth. I am loving this conversation, but I am looking at the time, and we need to wrap up, sadly. But I just want to ask everyone at the table right now: is there anything that you want to leave us with, like a little something that you don't want anyone who's hearing this episode to forget? Anyone, go. It's like I always ask this, but still people like get a little, you know.
I think speaking from the teacher's perspective, whatever your opinion on the topic might be, you don't have to agree, but as teachers, you do have to respect what your student is going through. Always be a safe space, regardless of your own personal opinion. And whether that means you need to seek out information in your own space and time, or if it means having this conversation with other colleagues, you need to do whatever it takes for your student to feel safe. Because at the end of the day, that's part of your job.
Thank you for that, Marlienne. Egmar, do you want to leave us with something?
Yeah, sure. I just hope that school systems, school boards see the importance in talking, start talking about sex, because I think in Aruba we have this big taboo about sex. And
that should be a whole different episode.
That's probably,
Yeah.
That's probably what's creating the whole LGBT phobia also. Because we just don't talk. We have weird names for our body parts and stuff. So you know, we're not ready there. We're not there yet. So this conversation has to be made first if you want to get into that one world where everybody can be themselves and be normal. So I hope we can start doing that.
Thank you for that, Egmar.
Replying back to the sex part in education, we actually did get a course on sex and protecting yourself, but what I did notice and what I think a lot of kids notice at every school, there's only like prevention from like methods to prevent Morwell from getting pregnant. That's the big scare. But within sex, there are more dangers, not only for straight people but for queer people. Also, you know. But when you're queer and you're having sex with same sex, you're not going to get pregnant, but you could catch AIDS, you could catch HIV, but you can also catch that with straight. While being straight, you know, like the pill isn't going to protect you from
that.
Like that.
Exactly.
You know, so I think there should be more education on just STDs, and also some more limelight on queer sex too. You know, because I think queer teens also deserve to know how to protect themselves instead of having to go do all of that research on their own. You know.
Yeah, or
and
unfortunately
possibly getting like false information on how to protect yourself.
or unfortunately getting information or being guided by somebody that's taking advantage
Yep.
Yeah.
of the teenager. You know, it happens in the streets, but it definitely also happens in the LGBTQ
For sure.
community.
Or doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
I mean-
the internet is not a safe space.
No.
Mhm. All right. Thank you so much for this conversation. I think all the things that you mentioned are very important. Let's have conversations in the first place, right? Let's make these conversations accessible in different places, including schools. I love to hear that there are schools that are open, that are, that have programs, systematic programs, but also that are trying to figure out how to create a safer space. Thank you for that. And I hope other schools are listening and paying attention and learning from that as well. Thank you so much for being here today, especially to you, Divya. It's so nice seeing you again, and for you to be open and willing to share with us today. But of course, Julian Egmar and Marlienne too. I appreciate you. And everybody who listened, remember that these episodes will be available afterwards on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. Stay tuned for next week. And I appreciate you for listening. Thank you, of course, to Seravi and Kras for making these conversations possible. I am Carolina, and I'm the host of this podcast/show. And my goal is to educate and inspire, so I hope I was able to do that today. Anyways, have a nice weekend. Be nice, be kind, and let's have fun conversations with each other. I will see you again soon. Bye.